Okay, so I think we are now live on Facebook. Um, Good afternoon and good morning to anyone watching us today. Welcome to the Persia webinar for the month of February. As you know from our social media, this month we are delighted to welcome a different kind of guest. Usually we're dealing with published stars who are already well known and doing an amazing job in today, however, we are interviewing a rising star, an emerging star in the world of STEM, Erfan Nouraee, who is an Iranian and a new immigrant to Canada, will be sharing with us a little bit of information about how at such a young age he has become a star and what it is that he's doing in the world of STEM to improve human life and human experience. So Erfan Jan, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you for accepting to do a Persia webinar.
Thank you for having me. So I would like to thank you. It is a pleasure to be here. And thank you for your support for young people who are, involved in STEM.
Thank you. Yes, Persia is perhaps one of the only Iranian-focused organizations that is entirely dedicated to advancement of education among young Iranian descent students around the UK and the world at large. So we would love to hear a little bit more about how you ended up in Canada. As you were saying in our pre-webinar conversation, you've arrived in Canada not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly. So so it's not been a long time that we come to Canada, and so as we've arrived, there's been a lot of support for that the community shown, and I really appreciate that. And the support has been something that I've not seen back in Iran. So, and I did expect this kind of support here in Canadian community, and I really appreciate this.
Wonderful. So when did you discover your interest in STEM subjects?
Yeah, so I was, about the childhood, I really had a bizarre childhood, and and it was, I just remember, like, when I talked with my parents, I just remember I was about 8 or 9 years old to work on some kind of inventions, like even like taking the resources around me and piecing them together to make something better was really naturally coming to me, and that was really interesting for me to work on something that can make people's life, that can make people's life better, or that can affect people's lives that way. So I worked on, piecing like any garbages or random home stuff. I picked them and pieced them together to make something when I was a child, like 8 years old or 10 years old. And it was really bizarre. My mother told me, like, you broke every toy that you had to watch it and to see what it consists and what it has. So to discover it, I read a lot of books, and my father bought me a box of circuits for a kit for my birthday, and because of a high interest in STEM, my parents really encouraged me to participate in many competitions in science and innovation, and I do want to tell here, I do want to particularly tell parents to support their and their children who like to join STEM and be supportive for their children.
Wonderful. Yeah, well, luckily, a lot of Iranian parents are in support of their children studying STEM subjects, and that is one of the keys to development of the younger generation, and also addressing a number of challenges that we are facing environmentally and economically today. So when was the first experience that you remember that you came to know you're able to invent something that, beyond just piecing together pieces of garbage, as you were saying, is actually something that is offering a new way of doing something? How old were you, and what was it that you made?
Yeah, so it was about like 16 years old or 15 years old when so as I said, I read a lot of books especially in physics, and the whole time, because I was really mad about physics to know about the patterns of universe and how our universe works. And I remember I did have some books, like one of the books I had was How Things Work, and the other one was General Relativity from Albert Einstein, and many of them I really love to know more about our universe and the principles of the nature. So it was the first turning point that I got into an idea to find the particles that have the enough energy to release from a metal, and which we call it in physics, we call it photoelectron. So I tried to build something like a sensor to detect this particle, and it was a really great idea to find about this particle and how, and many of physical aspects that the released electrons have. So, and then I tried to present my idea to in competitions, and in multiple competitions. Like, so in Iran we had Khwarazmi competition, Jashbarei Khwarazmi, and they also said like Youth Award. So because we need to be active in some to show up and to show your inventions, ideas. And then I tried to register it in Iran's patent patent organization to receive a patent. It was really fun for me. I like to be in the process of discovering, being involved in labs, talking with professors, and it wasn't impossible if we do if we don't have any failure. So we have to have some kind of failure to get to go forward. So even some people, some of my friends tell me like, you just get it straightforward, like everything was simple and easy. You did it at the first time and you got the idea and it worked. No, it's not that simple. So there are a lot of there are a lot of tests, there are a lot of prototypes that we do to get an idea into an invention. It is not really simple, and you have to be working day in and day out on the invention to be prototyped and to be ready to be ready as a product. And that is what we want to make change in science or even in industry.
Wonderful. Yeah. I think you're pointing out something very important, and that is you're hinting at it about scientific method, which is really a process of creating something new that we learn a little bit about perhaps in school, but in today's world, that is all about instant gratification. Perhaps a lot of young minds are more interested in making something that you would quickly put on YouTube that grabs a lot of attention, but it both lacks substance in terms of what it brings to humanity, and also it lacks that methodical approach to creating something new that is of value. So do you want to say a little bit more about perhaps your journey in terms of a scientist, an inventor, and what would you recommend are the steps that young individuals should keep in mind when it comes to exploring new things? What are maybe top 2 or 3 things that you recommend to young Iranian students around the world?
Yeah, for sure. So thank you for this question. So actually it was a time for me to get different kind of in be as prepared as I can to read multiple books to read to study a lot as I can. So studying really helped me out in preparing me to get into the STEM. So study is very important. So it is important to read books to increase your level of knowledge in physics, in mathematics, and in every in your field of interest, and the field that you're interested in, and you want to know more. And what is that field? Just go forward and buy books or read books. So my recommendation for students, and especially Iranian students, is to have or develop a solution framework. So find a problem and then come up with a creative solution. So you need to have a framework to turn the problem, to give a solution for a problem. So that problem can be in environment, that can be in physics. Just try to find a problem and then come up with an idea to tackle that problem, or give an idea to how we can effectively or efficiently or sustainably tackle that problem or solve that problem. It really depends on the method you create to the problem solving method that you have to tackle these kind of problems. And so it boils down to your mindset. Boils down to your knowledge, how you are prepared. Are you prepared enough for giving a solution for this problem? Are you studying enough? So there should be a little bit of background and timing before each idea to be prepared and to become invention. So my first recommendation is to have a unique problem solving method for yourself and develop it for each problem that you recognize to turn it to a solution. And then many people tell me, like as I said earlier, many people, young people actually tell me that what we should do with failure, because in invention, like in innovating, failure is something that you will see a lot. Like you have an idea and you see that in the first step it doesn't work. It doesn't work in the way that you want. So some people give up. So no, they quit. But you have to know that failure here is a component, and you have to, how can I say, you have to hug that component. I want to be as emotional in saying this, because it really works. You have to have that component to advocate and innovate for a future, for the solution, for a future that you want for your product. So it matters to have innovate. I do want to have a quote from Elon Musk, who is an entrepreneur and very successful entrepreneur. He said, if you're not innovating enough, if you're not failing enough, you're not innovating enough. So you have to fail enough to innovate. So that is the point of innovation. That is your turning point, that you make the idea happen.
I like that. I hadn't heard that quote, that if you're not failing enough, then you're not innovating enough. And
Innovating enough. Yeah.
that's fantastic, because we are, I think also as Iranian descent students and young professionals around the world, we are in a position to innovate a lot of things, because we've seen a lot of failures in our own country. So we're perhaps a little bit better equipped to solve problems, to first identify problems, as you said, then find a method of addressing that problem, and then finding a solution after a number of attempts to learn from our failures. So what you're describing is actually a bit of a mind shift that may be required for young Iranian descent students around the world to continue to create new things. Now, you shared this quote from Elon Musk, and earlier you also referred to a book of Albert Einstein's that you said you learned and you read and you enjoyed. In the context of the Iranian society, though, were there or are there any scientists whose work inspire you?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have, I guess, Dr. Hasabi, right? He is one of my favorite, favorite scientists, and I did visit a museum back in Iran, in Tehran. It was he had a lot of, we do use masterpiece in art, but he had a lot of masterpiece. So he was a former student of Albert Einstein, and he really inspired, he is an inspiring, he was an inspiring scientist, physicist, in Iranian physicist. And I really, I'm really inspired by his work and what he contributed to the world of science and physics.
Wonderful. Yes, he's an outstanding figure, and it's good to know that his work inspired you as well. And of course, we also have Maryam Mirzakhani, whose work has inspired so many, not only Iranians, really a lot of young scientists around the world. Tell us a little bit about your transition from the Iranian education system to the Western education system. How was it for you? What were the lessons that stand out in your mind?
Yes, I have to mention that there is a one-dimensional educational system in Iran, as one-dimensional governing education system in Iran. So we have just like you get into school, they will give you a couple of tests. You have to work on the tests, and then you have to do concours to get into the university. So there is a really not any research aspect in this educational system. So I have to say the educational system is corrupt, and that is undeniable. Nobody can deny that. So this is something that we see and from the system. So I was in that system. I touched that system. I felt how students' mental health was damaged because of the system, Iran's educational system. So to get into the university, you have to do multiple tests, which are not really practical for your future career or for your future skills or the future of your work. So it really depends on your interests. So I had a lot of friends, they told me, yeah, I have a lot of skills. I'm skilled in coding. And I told them, yeah, you can pursue that skill. And they told us, no, I can't, because I have to go to university. Even if I don't pass the test, I can't get into university. I can't pursue my interest because I have to do Islamic or something like test or Arabic test to get into the university, instead of learning their interest, pursuing their interest. That is the education of Western education has been something that really is fascinating, and really they are working on tirelessly on their systems to develop to develop future training for their communities, and I really appreciate that. Something that I've not seen back in Iran, but there are a lot of work to do to rehabilitate that to that educational system in Iran. So I hope that will be being better in the future, and the students don't have that much pressure to get into universities and be like here in Canada or UK or even other Western countries, US. So you don't have to pass a test to get into the university. You just have to be passionate about what you want. You just have to love your love your work, and do enough work to get into to follow your passion. So this is what I think how it differs between two systems.
Mhm. What has been the best parts of you coming to Canada and getting involved in STEM?
Yeah, for getting to Canada. So after we came to Canada, so we have been I just have been involved in laboratories. I received a lot of support from university, and they gave me access to some to laboratories to do my research, and something that is not really possible to get access to high-tech laboratories in Iran. So but here in Canada, they love to support you. They love you feel that you belong to this country, and that is something that how the systems differ in in give you the sense of belonging to that community, and to give you enough support to do your research and do your innovation to get into competitions. So I think that is the turning point in Canada for me. So
Okay, so it's been the support that you have received that has really made you enjoy pursuing your passion.
I think I did expect the support from like before back in Iran, because I really I saw a lot of young people active in innovation, so they didn't receive enough support to get into STEM, so they just like say no, we don't have any support to develop our ideas. So but here you have different kind of support. So it depends, like you have to show up and tell them like, I have this idea, I have this invention, and they will absolutely definitely give you the support you want, and that is I enjoy from this system. I want to be the voice, like, and they're voicing them, like politicians, leaders in Canada. It doesn't matter that which level of government they are, even mayor of Toronto, even the premier of premier of a province or prime minister of country. They all support, and it doesn't matter what your what your interest is, even you want to be a musician or innovator. So they support young people in advocating for a better future. It doesn't matter that you have to be an innovator, or you have to be a musician, so, or environmentalist. So that young environmentalist is contributing to the society that is getting us forward to a better future for this world, for this planet. So so that's why I want to be a voice, really like these politicians, for other young people.
Wonderful. So tell us about you said that you have 2 patented innovations at this point in your life. So tell us about the first one.
Yeah, so my first invention was, so holistically, it was about photon detector system. So its point is, what it does is that it detects the electrons released from a metal, and then it gives you different peripheral aspects like features, energy, frequency, and from the electromagnetic field that we create in a small space. So we detect the particles, features, and then give to the scientists. So this sensor, does all of this it just in one device.
Wonderful. And what difference would that make to the life of an ordinary person? Like how does that make my life any better?
So for my first invention, it was more about like physics, because as I said, I really worked toward physics and science, and it was more like contributing to science and finding the aspects of the particle. And however, I did have like it gives more opportunities to detect. So in communication systems, we need to have to detect light pollutions. So this system do offer this, respond to this problem and solve this problem. And for my second invention, if you mind, I can explain that.
Let's jump into that.
Yeah.
So what about your second invention then?
Yeah, and my second invention was is a system that can so we know we can send information by radio frequency, and also we can benefit sending information by light. So you can have a text, or you can have an image to send your information, like an image of a tree. You want to send it to a person, like from how can I say, from Paris to California. So you can send it by light, by optical fiber cables. You have that opportunity, but you can send the information by higher speed, faster. But despite the optical fibers have a lot of potential in industries, they have a lot of they have also some problems in industries. So this sensor addresses these problems by reducing the noise in the receiver devices of optical fiber communication systems, and it reduces the noise in the outcome signal for the receiver. Like the receiver can be everywhere, and it depends on how it can be a media, like it can be a media corporate, like so they send information to people. So the person who is receiving the information by light has come to information, the quality will be drawback. So this sensor can compensate that and get the quality back to the information.
Wonderful. So it's an innovation that is going to improve the quality of communication.
Exactly. So the quality of communication more in optical fibers, and the ways we send information through light, and so yeah.
Wonderful. And so you came up with this innovation in Canada?
Actually, I came up with that in Iran, but I more developed it here in as I said in more high tech laboratories like photonic laboratory or physics laboratory that are that they kindly um, open the access for me. So I had the opportunity to work on that on the invention here and to file it for United States, file it in United States and in Canada as well. And recently I have won. I have to mention I have won the International Federation of Inventors Associations, award for this invention, and from 35 countries and thousands of inventions. So I had I was honored really to receive the award, and after after a long time of prototyping, testing, and a lot of work on that.
And this is the bronze award that you won in
Yeah,
June.
exactly. It was a bronze medal from the United Nations non-governmental organization IFIA, which is agency and in innovation field in most of 150 countries around the world, and like many countries like US, China. It is a federation like FIFA or under the supervision of the United Nations. So supervising inventors and innovators worldwide. And I also have been granted a title from this UNO.
Wonderful. And what's the title that you've been granted?
Inventor, INV. So like doctor or engineer, they grant titles to inventors. So I also received that title like INV. So I don't, I really I like it, but it's not something that I really want to use in everyday life. So
Wonderful. Well, it's nice to see someone as accomplished as you and as humble as you are. So thank you for
thank
your
you.
humility, but that is quite an achievement for someone as young as you to be able to receive that title at such a young age, and of course to receive this fantastic recognition. What is next for you in terms of your own journey into the world of STEM?
Yeah, so we are working on our startup. So as I said, we like I'm the CEO, so I'm of our like the company. So most of like inventors or we have to have company because of our patents. So we have to have attorneys so who can help us for the patents, lawyers. So in this case, I'm really I really want to be first. I really want to be a voice for inventors, not only just in Canada, but in Iran, worldwide. I want to be a voice for inventors and innovators worldwide, and also we are I'm working on the inventions to commercialize them in the future to make that change um, you know wider, so to make that change happen. But we are hoping to commercialize it in the near future, and with the support of many organizations that are helping me, and so we hope to commercialize it in the second place.
Wonderful. Do you take the time at all, like you are today, to speak to young Iranians like yourself around the world about career opportunities and educational opportunities for them in this particular field?
Yeah, for sure. I love to contribute as much as I can to innovations world, and especially young people. And I always said, and I say that today, like more than ever before, we need young people like to build. So we are in a crisis. The world is really in a crisis. We need more young people in STEM to help increase that sustainability, to help grow that sustainability. So without young people, we can't advocate enough for a future that that our planet. So we need to help heal the earth, and that starts with their action. So they need to take the action. It is simple. Our goal is to, you know, decrease the carbon dioxide. So and it is simple. So just start the action. To take the action for healing the earth, for healing, for getting to that sustainability that you know we need for our future generation.
Wonderful. And do you work with a young group of people in your local community, or is there anything specific that you're starting yourself?
So I've really been active in politics in Canada. So I joined many youth groups for advocating for mental health and environment. So mental health has really been something important. You know, in Canada, there has been a long-term pandemic here, so it is not something to be really also to be really great for young people. So we know that we have to have, you know, we have to have uh, uh, lockdowns, but but the mental health problems also should be addressed. Like those young people who are struggling because of mental health, and there should be more support from government and local communities for young people, for youth mental health. And there is a growing number of suicide committing in different communities, and that's not really that's really something we have to address, and that also as well starts with action, with taking action by, you know, by fighting the stigma around youth mental health, and that starts with our action.
Fantastic. And how about among the Iranian community, wherever in the world? Are you doing anything to advocate the need for increased agency among young people, to particularly with regard to STEM and STEM education and innovation and entrepreneurship? Are you doing anything for the Iranian community in particular?
Yeah, exactly. So I have been, for sure, absolutely. That is something that that really I think of as one of my missions and one of my visions also here in Canada. That is something really important for me to join a local Iranian STEM communities, like robotics community we have in Toronto. And I joined, like, because of pandemic, I just joined virtually, and join these you know, brilliant young people to work with each other on you know, on like, they are younger, absolutely younger, like 10 years old, or you know, 11, or you know, 15 years old. They are so younger, but they are really impressive. Like they impressed me with their passion, with their, that how brilliant they are in building, as Iranians in Canada, in building a future uh, uh, that they you know, they think that there should be for you know, young people. And I really like that idea of youth-led innovations. I really like that, and I do whatever I can to join these local groups, especially Iranian local groups, uh, and to contribute as much as I can, and to serve them. Just the word serving them is something that is my first priority.
Wonderful. That sounds great. To wrap this conversation with you up, Tell us a little bit about your family. How has this explosion of talent and innovation on your part affected your family life? Are your parents involved in your ventures? Are they working in the background to make this happen? Tell us a little bit about your family life.
Yeah, absolutely. Family for me has been um, a, a, a pivotal factor. So family has been really important factor in they supported me and they are supporting me, and I really appreciate that their support. Even from a young age, they encourage me into competitions. Not just my parents. My parents have been they did whatever they can to help me to be to be successful in this field. So and even my distant relatives, they also, even however they're distant relatives, they also help me in this, and I really appreciate that. And I do encourage many parents to help to support their children, their um, to be to be as supportive as they can for their children to succeed in this STEM field. There are number of young people. So like, so I met one of our relatives. He told me that, yeah, he has a son, like his son loves coding, and he's trying to support him. So that is also the point, that that parents getting to know their children, that I think my child has an interest in this field. So when you recognize that, it is important to support that, to grow that, not to not to damage it. So to support it, to grow it, to hug it. So it really matters. So this is a very important decision for young for parents.
Fantastic. Which university are you at the moment?
So I'm studying at York University, I'm studying electrical engineering, and I'm second year.
Wonderful. So you're just a second year student, and you've already got 2 inventions to commercialize and move forward, and you're changing the quality of our life. So thank you very much, Erfan, for pursuing your passion. Thanks to your parents and your extended family for nurturing this possibility for you. It's been a delight to have you. Thank you very much for answering all our questions. I'm sure there will be many more that will come in through our social media, but we will forward those to you at a later date. And we're just going to now say goodbye to our live feed on Facebook, and hope to have more of these webinars during the coming months. Please check the Persia website and social media for information on our upcoming webinars. The next one actually is also by young professionals, a little bit older than you, Erfan, but nevertheless very young Iranian descent lawyer, barrister, and a solicitor who will be talking about working in the legal field. And a range of other webinars will follow from then on. So please visit our website, follow our social media, and join these wonderful webinars to discover more talents like Erfan Nouraee. Erfan, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. It is really great to talk with you and Kamran, and it was a pleasure. Thank you, and thank you for always being in the field for young people, and support them by these awesome webinars. I've also been watching a couple of them, and thank you.
Thank you.